So, welcome to the AI webinar, How to Go from Buzzword to Time Saver, hosted by Plan. We're a strategic meetings and event management platform that centralizes every aspect of the planning process, from the sourcing to the planning to the negotiating and even contracting, payments, and reporting. So, on that note, we're going to show a demo of how we use AI to power a platform, but that'll be later on in the webinar. So before we do that, I'll introduce myself and our guest speakers. So my name is Lauren Scody. I'm a marketing manager here at Planned. And I'm super excited about this webinar because, as you know, in the marketing sphere, there's so many AI tools that have been coming out. And I'm really excited to dive in to how we can use AI in events. Now I'll pass it over to Nim, our head of AI here at Planned, to introduce himself.
Hi, thank you. So my name is Nim. I'm leading the AI initiative at Planned. Just a little bit about myself. I used to work for a chatbot company before chatbots were cool. Shout out Automat. And now my role at Planned is, pretty much to ensure the product we're building, the platform we're building is leveraging AI to best of its ability so that we can provide the best user experience. And I'm quite excited to show you what that looks like later in the webinar.
Thanks so much, Nim. And Natalie, would you like to go ahead?
Yes, I'm Natalie Noble. I am an events and marketing coordinator at Avanade, which is a Microsoft and Accenture company. I also, in my spare time, also create events and curate events here in Chicago. Most of them are centered in the tech space and also in the professional networking space as well. So I'm definitely just glad to be here on the panel to talk about my expertise or even about how Plan helps others.
Great. Thank you so much for being here. We're really excited to have you and Matthias come on this webinar to talk about AI. Looking forward to hearing what everybody has to say. So Matthias, would you like to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. Yeah, my name is Matthias Klock. I'm the VP of Marketing on Grocery Shop, which is a tech innovation event for grocery retailers and CPG brands. I also run my own events, which are focused around cigars and whiskey. So cigar social events, basically in New York City. I've been doing that for 13 years. And I have fallen in love with exploring AI and learning about it with other people. So I'm happy to be here.
Thanks so much. All right, perfect. We'll just head into the agenda of what we're going to be covering throughout the webinar. So we'll start off with a history of AI and prompt structuring with Nim, our head of AI here at Plant. And then afterwards, we'll go into the discussion of AI and events, really trying to go beyond the basic use cases. This will be very much more of like an open discussion with Nim, Natalie, Matthias, and well, everybody here attending. So if you have any questions or you want to add in your 2 cents, feel free to use the chat. And after that, we'll get into more specific use cases. And Matthias is going to do a demo. Natalie is going to do a demo of some AI tools that they've been using. And after that, like I said previously, Plan is going to be doing a demo as well to show you how we use AI to power our platform. Following this, we'll go into the limitations of generative AI and some pitfalls to avoid when using it, especially in the event space. And from there, we'll segue into our Q&A session at the end of the webinar. So I will pass it over to Nim to start with the history of AI. Nim, take it away.
Thank you, Lauren. Let me start with sharing my screen. So once again, thank you so much for coming to this webinar. To kick things off, we'll start with the history of AI. And just like, history class, we're going to start with a pop quiz. So you're going to see a little poll pop up on your screen. All right, so the question is, when was AI invented? You have 3 options: 1950, 1837, 2020, 1943, or 0. Year 0, that is. So I'll give you a couple seconds to lock in your polls. We have some answers coming in. I'll, maybe wait a couple more seconds before. I think pretty much everyone's answered. All right, so 43, that's actually pretty good. AI has been around for a very long time. I like there's one person who answered 0. 2,000 years of AI. That's the next webinar if you want to join that. But all right, so I'm gonna, show you this quick graph that actually shows you when AI was, this shows the history of AI. And you can see AI has been through a lot of different changes, right? Like in 90s, AI beat the chess champion at that time, Gary Kasparov, and we had a lot of different AI, like things that happened. But for some reason, we are all talking about AI today, right? So what changed? It's been around for so long. and now it's just in everyone's mind. You see it everywhere. So what changed? What happened was that LLMs were invented, which is short for large language models. So it's the technology that powers ChatGPT and other generative AI like Midjourney, Dolly. You probably have seen that. So that's kind of powered by LLMs. And to talk about why LLMs are so good, we're just going to talk about AI just the period before LLMs were invented. So LLMs were invented in the past couple of years, but the last decade, from like 2007 till maybe let's say 2018, what did AI look like? So let's look at that for a second. So before LLMs were a thing, AI was very special case. So let's say if you're at Google, you want to build Google Translate, you'd had to train an AI model that could only do translating. You could not ask the Google Translate model to write poems or make like a content strategy deck. And same thing with Face ID. That's also powered by AI, but Apple had to train that AI to recognize the faces, and it was only trained for that purpose. You couldn't use it for anything else. And to do that, these companies, there's a couple of things they needed to have: a lot of training data and a lot of machine learning scientists to do that. And my previous job, which was really chatbots before LLM, we had a big research team, and we were collecting a lot of data to be able to build that chatbot, right? So that was before LLMs. So just before we switch to what changed with LLMs, why are LLMs different, I will pop another question for you. So those Google images when you go on a website and then you have to prove that you're not a robot, and you have to click on traffic lights and crosswalks. Well, obviously it's trying to keep the bots away from the website. What else do you guys think it's doing other than that? You could put the answer in the chat. There's not going to be a poll for this one. Yes, we already have some good answer. We are giving them a lot of data. Yeah, so actually that is the purpose of it. It is training the AI. Thank you, Ian, for that answer. And do you know why it is specifically crosswalks and traffic lights and so? Let's see if someone has an answer for that one. Yes, that's exactly what they're doing. They are training AI to be able to see crosswalks, which is quite an important thing for AI to be able to do if you want to have self-driving cars. So essentially, and if you remember a couple of years ago, it was the CAPTCHA was like a handwriting thing, and you had to translate what that was, because they were training OCR, they were training AIs to be able to read handwriting, so they were digitizing things, right? And now we moved on to this, and who knows what's going to be what we're going to be training next, but this is what they were doing it for. And let's move on to the LLM AI, right? So obviously things changed. We are all talking about ChatGPT. We're all talking about generative AI. What changed? The analogy I love here is there was a time in our world in the 60s, 70s, where they had this one big computer in some universities, right? And NASA had a huge computer to like launch, to go to the moon. But people didn't have that computer. So if you wanted to do some calculations, you had to go to, you had to go to university. You had to be like, they had 5 people that knew how to write code, and you would have to do that, right? And then Macintosh came around, Steve Jobs came around, and then we had personal computers. Now every household has a computer in their pocket. Like not household, actually, every person. Household was like the last thing. So now the compute was democratized. That means every person now can use the computers to do calculations themselves, and use Excel to do stuff. I think we are going to the same in AI. Previously, AI was only accessible to big corporations who had a lot of infrastructure, a lot of capital, a lot of data to be able to build AI. Today, you can use ChatGPT at home and use ChatGPT to do tasks. Your tasks that are niche, that are only applicable to your job, you can just use ChatGPT to do those tasks. You don't need to have a huge infrastructure to do that, right? So that's what changed. I think that AI is kind of becoming democratized. Everyone will have access to an AI superpower that they'll be able to use. And, like just to kind of go in a little bit of details, you don't need machine learning expertise. You don't need training examples. You don't need anything. You only need one thing. You only need to know about prompt design, which is you only need to know how to talk to ChatGPT. And it's surprising that it's not always the easiest thing to talk to ChatGPT. And I'm going to quickly talk about why that's the case. So let's go into prompt engineering a little bit. So as I told you, like LLMs come pre-trained, they understand English, they understand all these languages, but you have to tell them what you want them to do for them to be useful to you, right? And sometimes it could be tricky. The analogy I like to use there is that it's an intern that you've just hired, and they are super smart, they're amazing, they're actually like really smart, but they have no experience in doing the task that you want them to do. So obviously they're eager to help you. You want to give them a lot of instructions. You want to give them context. You want to give them, you know, like what to do, and then they'll do that job. And once in a while, they'll do something you don't want them to do, and you have to be like, oh no, this is not what I want you to. I know you're really eager, you're smart, but I have to, do that. And maybe one day this intern is going to be our boss and take, like it's going to be the AI overlord. But today, the AI is in my opinion, kind of at that level of like really smart, but you still have to know how to actually use it. And I think we're going to learn in this webinar, like how we're actually using it to do our use cases. And obviously there's like a lot of techniques you can use. I'm not going to talk about them, in this demo, but we have a guide that we published a couple of weeks ago, I think, that goes in detail on how to actually use these techniques. And I believe maybe Matthias and Natalie will touch on it in their demo. And I went too far. And that's it for me. That was history of AI. Back to you, Lauren.
Thank you so much, Nim, for that, for the history and just laying out, kind of how AI has progressed over the past decades even. And yeah, I'm excited to get into this discussion with Matthias and yourself. So I'm going to start off with a little more broad, more general question for both of you, the three of you, any of you to answer. So in what ways has AI enhanced in events, it enhanced your workflow in terms of reducing workload or, the effects on attendee engagement, ROI, just anything that you've really used it for, and just what's your take, what's your experience?
I would say one way that AI has really honestly helped me within events and marketing is, for one, similar to what Nim said, it really helps me with my productivity. So some of the things that I used to get writer's block for or thinker's block for, I no longer really have, because I have Chat GPT to kind of think through my thoughts. And I'm definitely going to show how ways in which I use Chat GPT in my demo to show how I kind of get out of writer's block, but that has been one of the main ways in which I have been able to use AI technology as it relates to my events, and even just in general with any task that I ask of it in that regard. So that's my number one, is productivity and assisting with writer's block, or pretty much that brain fog that you can sometimes have.
I think on my end, the first, I would say 3 or 4 months of using ChatGPT, the most useful time-saving function that I really did was just training ChatGPT on my brand's voice, and kind of having essentially a prompt, a block that describes the voice, so that anytime I needed new copy for new show features or new types of marketing, I could essentially churn that out all sort of pristinely within the brand voice. That was super, super helpful. And now I'm saving a tremendous amount of time with the formerly code interpreter, now called advanced analytics, where you can upload large files and do a lot of analysis, and even reorganize that file and re-download it very, very quickly. So that's where the big productivity.
All right, great. Thank you so much. And now I kind of want to prompt a more in-depth question. A year from now, how do you see yourself using AI? Where do you think AI is going to be going? So yeah, either one of you, feel free to go ahead.
I think specifically within events, AI is definitely going to become more of an experience for us. We're going to now be able to see, ways in which we couldn't connect before. And I think literally because we're on this platform of Livestorm now, we're able to connect from Montreal, from Chicago, from New Orleans, from wherever. And this is all through technology. And we're able to host an event. So I think that there is definitely number one. But I also think that within AI, we're also going to be able to see pretty much more our jobs being more simplified than before, or the technology being able to be, I would guess you could say, pretty much in a mindset of a human's thoughts, that we will be able to create something that could also benefit us in the health realm. And a few months ago, I was able to attend a health information forum event. And at that event, multiple health systems solution businesses were creating AI or using AI technology to be able to give someone the what was they doing? I think the Heimlich maneuver or something to that effect. But they were able to put up their iPad or with the app and be able to see where they would be able to do the chest compressions and all of those other different things. And so that demo at that event really drove a lot of leads their way because they're able to now, you're not able to see that before without using technology and without knowing how the human body is built. Or there was a lot of, medical imperfections that occurred and medical malpractices that occurred because we didn't have that technology before. So I definitely am pro AI or pro technology, a little biased to it, but I definitely am always here for the events to be able to demo ways in which our lives can be made easier, safer, and as well as our productivity when it comes to life and living can be made simpler through AI that is for good.
Yeah, those are great examples. I'll give two on my end that I think are going to be interesting. One is I've been thinking about how matchmaking at events, how events bring together buyers and sellers often is going to change really drastically. So right now, because of technology limitations, essentially what event organizers are able to do is have an attendee sign up and say, I'm interested in CMS systems. And then a vendor says, they mark their little category as they sell CMS systems. And then the exhibitor says, you should meet with the CMS system. But wouldn't it be really cool if when someone registers for an event, they authenticate their LinkedIn account, the event pulls in the LinkedIn information and says in a follow-up email to that attendee, hey, there's 4 people who are going to this event who graduated from the same college in 1981. You should meet up with them on site. Or there's these 5 people who are in this quirky LinkedIn group over here about, artwork or whatever. You should meet up. So sort of enriching the human connections on site by finding ways to match people that have really never been possible before. I think the other theme would be that personalization of events is going to become much deeper than we've ever really experienced before. And I think there's actually risks in that for event organizers. But one way that I could see this happening is, let's say you go onto an event website for a conference and you hit their conference agenda page, and it's this big wall of all of the sessions happening at the event, and you kind of have to search through and figure out which sessions might be most relevant for you. Instead of that, maybe there is that, but in addition to that, there's a chatbot that pops up and says, hey, tell me about your pain points. Like, what are you struggling with at your company right now? And I'll recommend all the sessions that make the most sense for you. Or if you're interested in speaking or hearing from more senior level speakers, here are the sessions and the times and the locations that are going to be most relevant for you as well. So really almost like creating a consultative experience for people planning their attendance. I think that's like months away, probably it's already happening, but certainly is going to be, I think, standard across events very, very soon.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I love the speed dating kind of networking thing that you was talking about. One of the apps that I used recently is Hop In, and so they have the availability for you to network within. So it's similar to how this looks within Livestorm, but they also have on the main stage an area for you to network, and so they match you with individuals that are similar to you. Based upon what you inputted in when you first registered. And so depending on what the event manager has set up for how long the networking opportunity would be, every 5 minutes or 1 minute, they switch you to the next person I think they'll match you up with. So it's a really interesting and engaging way in which they use data and place people together based upon their likeliness. So I definitely think that is something that, like I said in the beginning, that how we experience events, how we network now is going to be completely different. I mean, social media is a network, and so how we now find people that we literally probably just met at a bar or along a walk, and now for some magical reason, they're in our friend request or friend suggested, So I definitely think that is a little intrusive, but I do think it's coming next. I do think it's coming next since we're already kind of experiencing that a little bit.
I've been taking notes on all that stuff. Maybe we'll make it happen and plan these kind of features. But like I would, maybe I'll give a bit of perspective from like a technology point of view, what I'm thinking, plants going through a little bit. I feel like, I feel like it's just such a new technology. We're all figuring out how to actually use it. But, we are, every day there's a new way to kind of, this is how we use it. I'm totally agreed with that. Like it's months away, maybe those kind of things, and it's moving quite fast. And it's kind of like when the mobile phone first came out, and then all of a sudden it allowed us to have Uber. Uber did not exist without mobile phones kind of thing. So I think like we are getting into that territory. We're just figuring out how it works. And then before long, everyone will have really good ways of building new products that allow us to do that. And I think like the second point I wanted to kind of talk about is like in one ear, like I have this specifically where I know AI's like I use AI to like code a lot because I'm a programmer, I like code, and it's doing a lot of my code now, and it scared me. Well, this is my job. And it was interesting because I found out, and I think this applies to other industries too, I hope. Like I had that fear in the ear, maybe I don't know what my job looks like. And and I realized that like I'm actually writing more code today, but I'm just writing more creative, like I'm solving more creative problems because AI is actually doing the part that I didn't want to do. But actually like the code I didn't want to write, it's doing that for me. But then I have so much more time to solve problems and actually do stuff that's giving me high energy. So I'm actually end up doing more of that, which is more creative stuff, right? It's allowing me to be more creative at my job because it's doing the more mundane tasks. And I think I'm a better I write better code now because of that. So I'm hoping and I'm assuming, like in other industries too, my optimism here is that, in the future, it's just going to make us so much better at our jobs, and it's going to make us do things that it's going to change our jobs maybe a little bit for sure, but it's going to maybe change it for good. And obviously that's my hope. So ever since I had that epiphany, I have a bit less fear and uncertainty, and it's turned me into a bit more of an optimist. But yeah, this is just more of a technological where I think it's going. And it probably applies to the events industry too.
I definitely agree with you there. And I think if we approach it from AI is for good and we focus more on AI that is for good rather than some of the disruptive and destructible AI, I think we could honestly put something together that will work. Because let's just kind of break down Matthias's idea. Someone would say, oh, that takes away from us actually networking in person. Why would someone come up with an app where we're only segmenting a certain amount of people meeting someone? But you never know. This might could be resolving someone's mental health issue because they possibly have anxiety, social anxiety, or issues with networking and meeting up. So if they have a commonality, they'll be able to speak to that person and say, hey, I see that you are interested in horses. I'm interested in horses as well. That gives them a sense of comfortability to be able to talk to someone, that next person. So I think if we more so focus on what we will resolve with AI, I think that'll be helpful. And again, as I'm sure you're doing as well, Nim, even if AI produces the work that you do, you're going through and double checking to make sure that code is correct, because you have to obviously make sure that you copy and move it over, that it's actually what you need and it's going to work. So I think if we also add in some type of, compliance there, and also some assurance and double checking to make sure that what we're doing and what we create is actually going to help and assist the target audience that we're trying to reach, I think, definitely we can approach AI or use AI to make the world definitely better for sure.
Thank you so much for that. And I think rolling off of that topic, I personally, and I think everybody attending would love to see some examples of how you guys use AI in your everyday like workflow, your everyday processes. So Matthias, would you like to go first?
Sure. All right. Start the clock. I'm going to try to get through two examples that are kind of the edge of how I'm using it to do kind of complicated things very quickly. So I'm going to share my screen here. Hope that it works. I was actually having some issues with Chat GPT. So this is actually a screenshot of my conversation. So this is using advanced analytics, which is a Chat GPT 4 enhancement. So you have to have a paid version of Chat GPT. $20 a month. It's absolutely worth it. I would pay $100 a month for this product easily. I'm going to show you basically event analysis that I did with this that would otherwise take me probably months to do. So I told you about my cigar and whiskey events. I basically said, let's do some analysis. I'm going to take the last 10 years of all of the events I've ever done, and drop the summary data into a CSV. So I'm going to drop the top line event performance for each of my events, almost 200 events, into Chat GPT and have it tell me what's in the file. So it went ahead and described, probably used Python. It described the name of the column. So event date, ticket sold, number of tickets available. And then to summarize the different types of events, you can see I asked it to isolate rooftop events, Straight Up and Toasted, which is an event that I do in Midtown, Davidoff, which is a series with Davidoff, which is a brand, Smoker Social, which is a different event type I do in Cigar 101, which is some of the classes that I teach. So you can see the counts of the event and it plotted it on a graph. Now, the graph is pretty ugly. So I responded, replot using a bar chart. So now we have the frequency of the events over the years. Looks good, but it's a little hard to tell which events are which because it shows green for everything. So my next response was, can you differentiate the colors and add data labels? So now we have colors on these bar charts with data labels. So now I wanted to understand the relative attendance of these event types by year. I'm really going to scroll through this very quickly. What I really want you to understand is how flexible ChatGPT is to do the type of analysis to get really exactly what you want. So you can see I got another ugly chart here with some analysis, so average attendance for each of these event types, which was helpful. I asked to reformat it to a bar chart. So this is monthly attendance at just one of my event types over the years. You can see here, it actually left out 2020 through 2023, which is my big critique of advanced analytics is it oftentimes will accidentally some data out. So you just have to be on guard for that and call it out. So you're missing 21, 22, and 23. Please add. So you can see it added that in. Updated chart. I then asked for a moving average. I just wanted to see, can I see general attendance trends? It looks like attendance is, like, broadly speaking, pretty flat at around 60 attendees per event. Then I wanted to see monthly attendance across all events. So that's not just one event type, but all of my events. Then I asked for analysis, which is a step deeper. So what's the relationship between the total number of events held each year and the annual attendance? What are the 3 best months to host events over the years? And if I was going to create a brand new event, what month should I consider? And it did this analysis here. It was spot on with its analysis. December, January, and February are by far my best months in terms of attendance. And then I asked for the relationship between the number of events hosted of a specific type and attendance, which is basically more events are good until a certain point, and then you start to see reduced returns. So here's total attendance across all of my events by year. Really, the point I'm trying to illustrate is you can customize this. Like, I actually just wanted 2023 to be green. So I said, can you change 2023 bar to light green, which it did. So extremely flexible. I can upload any data and have it do any type of analysis. I was doing some really wacky analysis last night. I was looking at a referral program for a newsletter and wanted to model out the growth of that newsletter and the revenue based on the number of referrals from each newsletter subscriber. And I'm not a data scientist, but ChatGPT is. And so it's able to actually suggest the type of analysis that's most beneficial. So that's use case number 1. I'll breeze through number 2. And if you ever want to chat about any of this, I'm on LinkedIn. So just connect with me. I chat with people all the time in DMs about how to use this stuff and would love to learn from you. Let me just share this screen now. So this is actually a marketing implementation. And this is actually from an event that I'm working on now, which is called Grocery Shop. So basically what I wanted to do, and this goes to the personalization point that I mentioned earlier, what I wanted to do was create segmented marketing based on the themes of my show and write emails that would be versioned out for different journeys, different customer journeys based on the interests of the attendees. So you can see I uploaded the agenda. It just has the session day, time, the name, the session description, etc. I asked it to analyze the themes of the sessions. So tell me what the top 5 themes are, and it falls on its face here. So it pulled the descriptions And it just did a simple word count. So retailers mentioned 44 times, grocery mentioned 42 times, retail mentioned 40 times. So it was not very smart. It just did a word count. So obviously these are not the themes of the show. So we get into the conversation here. Okay, these are individual words, not themes. Themes should be phrases. For instance, a theme I see in the agenda might be personalizing customer experiences or growing profitability. Okay, so great. I understand your point. You're right. Themes are often more nuanced and may involve multiple words. Okay, good. So I tried again and got it wrong again. Retailers, so it widened its scope from one word to 2 to 3. And we ended up with retailers and brands, track, keynote, generative AI, which is one of them, and shopping experiences. So the conversation continues. Okay, track, keynote, it's more logistical information. It's not a theme. Generative AI is good. Others not so helpful. Expand to 2 to 4 word phrases. And this is where it starts to get things a little bit more right. So generative AI, shopping experiences, supply chain, et cetera, et cetera. From here, I basically said the themes are good. Now we're going to create some marketing email copy for each of these themes. Now this is where adding in a lot of detail to a prompt can be really helpful. So if I was working with a marketing manager or a marketing associate to write these emails, I'm not going to say, okay, just go write emails about these themes. I'm going to give some specifics. So I'm going to say, here's how I want the email to be structured. A short intro, a bolded list of 5 speakers that are speaking on those topics, a list of 3 sessions that cover that theme. I asked it to prioritize by the seniority of the speakers. So start with, VP or C-level, et cetera, and add a call to action. And then I did style training. So here, use this copy as your style training. I basically pulled some of the best paragraphs of copy from our website that represent our brand, dropped it on here. Great. And then I thought this was so cool. So it says, understood, using the provided style guide, I'm going to create marketing email copy for each of these themes. Great. And I just thought this was so great. It said, let's start by generating email copy for generative AI. I'll identify the relevant sessions. So it does its coding to pull out, runs into a bunch of data issues, and is actually able to correct itself over about 4 iterations, which is great. And now here's the copy for the email. So it gave a fairly generic sounding email, not perfect, not terrible. It didn't include much of the session information, and then it said, would you like me to proceed with the next theme, or do you have any adjustments? Which I thought was so great, because that's exactly how a marketing associate would respond, right? Like, let's tailor this one first and then get the rest of them right. So we continued, we made some adjustments, and we ended up, I'm going to skip forward because I want to leave time for everything else. We basically ended up with these segmented out themed emails, which my team now can use to go to market for these themes. Now, there's no reason that this couldn't have been a 3 email campaign for each of these themes with different call to actions for each email. It really just comes down to how big are you thinking with how you're engaging. But my recommendation would absolutely be for anyone on this webinar is get ChatGPT Premium and start using this advanced data analysis, because I think what a lot of people miss is it really isn't just data analysis. It isn't like once you use data analysis, all it's capable of doing is data analysis. You can actually shift it to creative use cases once the data analysis has been done. So once you start thinking like, okay, I can take this data and now do really creative things with it that actually could be great for marketing, that's when you start seeing those really incredible returns. Like that whole conversation took 20 minutes to version out all of that marketing. So get into the advanced analysis, get in there, start uploading files. And my last tiny tip there is, if your company doesn't want you to upload any information from your company, if you have very strict security policies, you can still play with this technology. Just ask it to create sample data. So create an Excel sheet, add the headers of the data that you would kind of want to be using, or take your own Excel sheet, remove all of the data but the headers, upload it, and then say, I'd like you to create 500 sample rows with random information for each of these columns based on what you think would be most fitting in these columns, and then do your analysis. So you can still learn how to use this technology even if you're having, privacy and security restrictions at your company. So just like, for the sake of your efficiency and your career and all of that stuff, like get into it and start using it. So, okay. All right. I'll stop. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, Matthias. I have never really used ChatGPT for to and like seen it correct itself. So I thought that was really cool. And I'm now excited to go use it after the webinar. So, Natalie, would you like to demo one of the tools that you've been using?
Yes, and actually it's the same tool. Let me share my screen. For one, besides obviously using Chat GPT and using it for pretty much all of my word blocking, I also use the plugins option, which is another option for you to use on the pro plan as well. Specifically with Canva, I'm able to create social media posts if I needed to schedule out or have some social media posts going alongside with my content for the event. And then also sometimes I need to look up as far as like flights or things like that for people or stays for people for events on the back end to do that. And then I also sometimes if I'm looking at a event space, a venue, or whatever the case, I sometimes use the link reader to find out or to give me better insight on whether or not this might be the space for me or to summarize the website. So that way I can get all the information I need without having to scanning so much. And I also do have the access to data and usage for that as well. But one of the ways in which I use ChatGPT recently was with a client that I have that's for Skyway Bowling. They're a bowling alley, and they literally needed a marketing plan or strategy in order to kind of promote their corporate ditch days for their bowling parties. And I needed a email and also a cold call script so that way I could be able to promote their events for them. And so ChatGPT pretty much gave me a market research, email marketing strategy, and also ways in which I can use cold calls and other marketing avenues to promote and push the corporate ditch days event that they're looking to have, and also give me other examples as well, which was very helpful. And so then again, like I said, I needed a call script and an email that works well with the plan. So they were able to give me that. Now, obviously, they didn't know every little detail about my name or whatnot, but I'm pretty sure if I gave that information to them, I would be able to. And then they also gave me the email script that I could send out. And this goes back to when I was mentioning, although it's Chat GPT can kind of be copy and paste, but you definitely want to go through and make sure that what's being said is written in your voice, because sometimes other than that, it'll just be written in voices of which, they know best or what they pretty much have. And then another way that I use Chat GPT again was for Skyway Bowl. They were doing, oh, there we go. For Skyway Bowl, they were doing or wanted to have a Halloween custom bowling party proposal for them. And so I basically asked ChatGPT to give me a la carte pricing for the services that it would be, assistance with promotion and marketing, day of setup, vendor scouting, and everything like that. And so I was able to put together pretty much a list of a la carte pricings for me as a freelancing event planner based upon what the industry prices would be for these types of services. So this was able to help me without having to ask anybody, what are the normal costs or what should my costs be able to put that together and put that proposal together as well for them. So whether or not I want to work with these prices, whether I want to increase them or decrease what ChatGPT had, it was available for me to obviously use and to help me be better as an event planner for the events that I like to put together. And then they always give this disclaimer to let you know that they pulled this information, but to make it your own. So I always love that about ChatGPT as well. So that's pretty much the main tool that I actually use within ChatGPT. Another one I did want to show you guys was Hopin, which is another platform to have virtual events. So as I mentioned, Hopin has the ability to have online networking events. So this is what I was discussing, where you would be within Hopin too, you're able to have a networking area on top of like the main stages or the sessions that you would have. And you're able to talk to people who are pretty much the same person as you. And you can see who you're networking with and be able to connect with them as well. And then in the people area, you can also see any other people that are similar to you that you might want to meet and discuss as well. So I host virtual events and in-person events. But when I do my virtual events, I always love to use Hopin because I value the power of networking and being able to have that availability to speak to people that are in the events that, normally you might not be able to kind of have that interaction with. But another thing, this only says that it's timed out or whatever. But they use technology to figure out how to plug and play and figure out who is the next interested candidate for you to meet during networking. So this is kind of like what the screen will look like while they're working behind the scenes. So those are just I would say my top two that I have. Hopin if I want to have virtual events, and then also Chat GPT to kind of help me as a freelance event planner, kind of plan out my proposals and also some of my cold emails and things like that as well.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that demo, Natalie. I think one of the key takeaways is we got to use Chat GPT for. Like the fact that everybody is demoed that, and you guys showed different things, showed how like the wide range of what it can do is great, and I'm sure we'll have a ton of questions during our Q&A session. And now I'm going to pass it over to Nim to show you guys how we use AI at Plan, or how we power our platform with AI.
All right. Thank you, Lauren. Let me share my screen. So, we are all aware what Plant is by now. It's a platform that allows you to do many things, but I'm going to focus on this flow right now. So this is how you plan events, right? And Plan helps you. We have all these tools on the platform. So before even AI was a buzz thing, we had this flow, and this is the flow everyone else uses, right? It's just all in the platform. So I'm going to go through this. How do you actually plan an event? The first step is you create an event brief. This is all your event requirements, like the venues you need, the food and bev, like you want vegan options for your colleagues, you want an AV team, So this is the step one. You gather your requirements. In Plan, you don't have to use another tool. Step two is now you want to actually find suppliers that match those event briefs. You can do this in Plan 2. We have a marketplace with thousands and thousands of suppliers. So you go to a marketplace, you look for a supplier that's based on your event needs. And let's say you've now found your suppliers. You have like a short list of 5 suppliers you want to work with. You have a venue, you have like catering, you have all those suppliers. And the next step is you contact them. And then you enter the negotiation process, right? But now you're talking to many different vendors and you're negotiating price. There's a lot of back and forth. And then finally, you book the supplier, which includes invoicing, paying them, and all that stuff. Now, Plan even goes beyond that, but we're just focusing on these 4 steps. And our AI strategy here is that we're not building a chatbot that's just going to do stuff for you. We still want you to have that control on how you plan the event. What we do is we just take the AI and we kind of find the friction points in this flow, and we use AI to remove that friction. So the result is the flow stays the same. It's just way better, way smoother, and you get your value way faster, right? You spend way less time on actually getting to the final step, which is booking suppliers. So this is our AI strategy. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do a live demo on some of the AI efficiencies that we've built that is part of this process. So I can't show you everything, but I'm going to just do like a quick, cool demo that's fun. Let's start with the creating an event brief. That's the first step we do, right? So the way we help you here is that we have this AI tool that helps you build out your event brief. So, no one wants to fill out a 15-page form on your event needs, right? Like you're like, I want this and that. Oftentimes people have a description of what they want. Sometimes they get it from their bosses. Sometimes they get it from their colleagues. So one of the cool things we do here is, let me share my tab. So I have this on the right, you see it's the event brief. And now I can just type in what I want and the AI will fill out the event brief for me. So I'm going to say, I want to work venue, maybe near our office, which is located, let's say, where are we located? So our colleagues don't have to travel too far for this. For catering, we would love, let's say, wine and snacks. A photo booth could also be fun. Let's see what it does. And now you see it's working, and it's just filling out this form for you. And previously you had to, go through those really long questionnaires. And the cool thing here is that this is a standardized form that our suppliers are used to. So when you send this to our suppliers, they don't need to parse out a long description to really understand what your event needs are. We actually give them a really nice format that it's really easy to read and that's really easy to parse. So when they come back to you, they come back to you with really good estimates. All right, so I've done that. I've created this brief, and now I am in the main platform where you could see my whole event. You could see all the details I have. Obviously, you have other features too, like agenda. And now you can check out your event brief, what it looks like. And now I go to the marketplace. And here's another place where we use AI. So this is step 2, right? This is the step of sourcing. And we use AI to give you recommendations that actually match your event needs. So you don't have to do your own search. So I think I like this Hotel William Gray. It's showing me all the results near the office that I said in the event brief. And here you can see, like we actually give you a distance from your address, and it's a 4-minute walk. Oh, lovely. That's exactly what I was looking for. And then the final thing is I just have to.
Sorry, no, I'm just going to interrupt. We can't see the listing.
Oh yeah, it's true. I always forget this. It opens in a new tab. Okay, so let me do that again. Thanks for letting me know of it. So this is the listing. It just opened a new tab and I forgot to switch. And then here, this is where we see the distance from your address, which is the address we put in the event brief, and it's 4 minutes walk. And on the right, you see the same event brief that we filled in. And all we have to do is click send. It matches our event brief, right? So that part is done. I have, maybe I do this for 10 suppliers that matches my event needs. And then the next step is negotiating. So now you enter negotiating. Now, this is interesting, right? Because there's a lot of, for people that have planned events, that there's a lot of documents that get transferred. You get, for example, this document, which is a standardized document of their price, right? A lot of vendors just have that in the document format. And sometimes you get like quotes that is in a different format. These are all just random formats. What we use AI for is to analyze them and give you the standard comparison view. So you don't have to take those documents, copy, paste the info in Excel, and then do your analysis. We do all that for you. And the final result that you get from those documents is this page, which simply shows you, these are the prices, this is what they offer, and this would now allow you to book one of these, right? So that's a comparison page, that's the negotiating step. And let's say you've chosen Tuscany Suites, that's the vendor you want to go with. Now you move on to the next step, which is booking them. Well, more documents. Now it's different kind of invoices. Everyone has their own invoicing system. They all give you a different PDF and they're all very difficult to parse. You have to take them, copy into Excel for your reporting. Who knows what you need to do? Well, with AI, you don't have to do that. On Planned, we do that work for you and you just get a planned quote, a planned invoice, which we just translate all the different kinds of invoice into one standardized invoice. This allows us to give you reporting tools later on because we have standardized information on an invoicing. You can look at your event spend over the last month. You can look at which categories you're spending more money on. And we could do this because AI is helping us convert these invoices into a standardized invoice. So this pretty much is the whole event planning flow. And obviously, you could check our plan. We offer more features than this, but this is just the sourcing flow that I showed you. Let me go back. How are we doing on time, Lauren? Do we have time for limitations of AI quickly? Maybe I'll spend just 2 minutes on this.
I think we're gonna have to skip the limitations of AI. I'll beef up the slides before sending them to all the attendees afterwards. So at least we'll have that information after. I just want to leave some time for a nice Q&A session. And so if everybody has any questions, drop them in the chat. We'll start answering.
I just want to say, as a marketing person who never does this type of work, I am so impressed. That is so cool. I feel like, I don't know any meeting planners here or whatever. I feel like that's like an 80% time savings or something like that. It's amazing. I want Airbnb to have this. So nice job.
It's actually cool. It's amazing as a startup kind of company, how easy it has become to build these things. And this is why I'm so stoked for AI, because it's allowing us to do this without getting a whole team of scientists, which is the hard part.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you.
All right, so we have a question in the chat. Lena asked, favorite plugin for the Chat GPT 4?
I only use the data analysis right now. I looked through a lot of the plugins. There's some really cool ones there, but I've got my hands full just with that. So
Awesome.
I would say my favorite plugin would be the Canva one, because if I give them like a social media calendar, or if they create a social media calendar for me, ChatGPT will then take that social media calendar and create similar posts. It's pretty generic. It's not as graphically aesthetic as you would think, but at least it puts it in a format that I can go through in Canva and look and edit and add my branding and colors later. So that helps me as well, since I'm not that big of a social media manager. I like to stay in my little events and marketing little fold. So that definitely helps me a lot.
Amazing. I feel like the Canva plugin, I saw it pop up not that long ago. I wanted to give it a try, but I really like the idea. It's true, like that it'll be generic, but you can go in and then edit it. Like at least you have the base, you have the skeleton, saving you that time,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. So
I think, and that,
oh, I'm sorry, Nan.
no, you go ahead.
Yeah, when you connect the plugin, you log into your Canva at the same time. So whatever it creates, it'll be in your Canva as well.
And another cool thing that they just shipped, it's not available to public yet, but I've been seeing it on, some people have access to it, and what they've been doing with it is you can upload images to ChatGPT and it understands it. I wonder if there's a world where like you're actually uploading like inspirations and you're like, hey, create me a Canva thing based on these inspirations. I don't know how far we are from that, but if
that's like 2 weeks away.
yeah,
that's I wouldn't be surprised if when they open that up to the public, it's already, it's already possible. I do think like the biggest news is it's kind of funny. It sounds really small, but it's actually massive, which is that obviously ChatGPT is going to be embedding DALL-E into the chat so you can do your image generation there. But most importantly, it understands text on image. So you can now actually create images that have like branded text on those images, which has been one of the major limitations in marketing to using a lot of this stuff, is like it's really impossible to get branded or even text onto images. And that problem has been mostly solved in this version that's going to come out in October. So yeah, something to look at for sure.
Love that. All right, we're going to wrap it up because we have 1 minute left, but I just want to thank Matthias and Natalie and Nim for joining us and sharing their expertise about AI and some ways that they use it. I'll wrap this up by saying follow us on LinkedIn, follow Natalie, follow Matthias as well. I'll post the links right there. And just letting everybody know, we have an AI guide coming out, just like a renewal of our old AI guide coming out very soon. So keep your eyes peeled. And I think we'll have to schedule another discussion in a year from now to see if AI is where we think it's going to be.
That sounds great. Thanks for the invite, Lauren. I appreciate it. Nim, we got to do that debate. We got to do that.
Yeah, let's do it. I'm excited. Yeah.
All right, everyone. Have a good day. See you guys later.
Thanks. Bye.